So, how do you generate a big crowd for an air show made up of one plane? Simple. Just make sure that plane is a Flying Fortress. A B-17 Flying Fortress. It's one of the most impressive planes ever built. It was the backbone of our air power in Europe during World War II. It was the first long-range strategic bomber put into service. It's capable of totally defending itself during flight with 10 50 caliber machine guns in 8 locations all around the aircraft. Its wings are so expansive that it was often referred to as the aluminum overcast. That's because it cast such a large shadow on the ground that a single mission would literally darken the skies as it flew over. Of the 12,000 built for the Second World War, only 12 remain intact, and only 3 of them fly on a regular basis. The Liberty Bell Foundation is one of those groups, and it tours around the country each summer, giving people a unique chance to get acquainted with our past.
Well, it's hands-on history. It's our heritage, not in mothballs or the pages of a dusty book.
On this blustery day, young and old alike turned out just to walk around the plane and marvel that something that big could even fly. Others took a tour of the craft, and some even plunked down more than $400 to take a half-hour ride into history. Now, that might seem like an expensive ticket, but it only pays for a fraction of the bills.
Typical ride weekend, we'll touch about 15 grand in fuel. We burn 200 gallons an hour, and on oil, we're burning a gallon of oil per engine per hour. Each engine holds 40 gallons, so we don't go anywhere fast. We burn lots of gas. The airplane loves the fluids.
Fortunately, the crew and pilots that keep the Memphis Belle in the air are mostly volunteers. Most of the pilots who fly the craft are professional pilots by trade, and they say it's very different from flying today's airplanes.
You might as well go lift weights, because that's what this is equivalent to. There's no assist of any kind on the flight controls. Everything you're doing is you think about it, you got to put your muscle in it, and then make the airplane do what you want it to do.
Now, it not only flies differently from today's aircraft, it was built differently too.
You look up inside the wing structure and it looks like the Brooklyn Bridge in there. It was so strong, it could take so much damage but still get the crew home, and the airframe home.
The time that I was in it, I never worried about the airplane as far as it not being able to get us up and back, and it always did. We lost an engine on occasion. That seemed to be no problem to the pilots, and where I was sitting, I'd look out, and if they weren't worried, well, I didn't worry.
It's amazing the amount of damage this thing would take. Tail being practically cut off, holes in the wing, holes in the tail, but it would still get the crew home.
I remember it was a fateful thing. We come home on one engine, 750 miles, from Vienna to Foggia, Italy. We cleared the Alps by 20 feet.
For vets like Jerry Budd, today's trip brought renewed determination and gratitude.
I'm 93 years old, and
Yeah.
I don't know how much longer I got to go, but I'm going to hang in there. I'm so appreciative of your attention and what you're doing here. It just means a lot to me.
Even veterans who did not fly find memories of their service rushing back just by the sight of this plane. Bob Blegan served in the Navy and remembers the day a bomber streaked across the beach of Normandy.
Obviously in distress, and it circled slowly up there, and we watched it and then counted as the parachutes came out of it, and then it just took a dive into the water.
The veterans will start talking about things that happened to them and things that they did, and these stories are stories that have never been told by them before. And sometimes it gets quite emotional. They finally have a release for all that emotion they've been bottled up for all these years.
By God, we want to honor our veterans while they're still around. Without those guys, we wouldn't be sharing this history today.
Now, the Liberty Bell Tour is gone from Utah for this year, but they do plan to make a return next year. And it's a worthwhile investment to make, especially before these planes and the men who served on them are all gone. For At Your Leisure, I'm Terry Wood.